Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And today I have a very special guest who's going to talk about a new product which I intend to carry. But I want you to have him tell us a little bit about himself before we get started and how he got into this. It's a very interesting story. You're going to love it. So, welcome, Benjamin, the hip hop man.
Hey, what's going on, Gail? So good
Uh,
to be here on Free Range. I'm excited to share everything that I'm working on with your audience.
awesome. It's fascinating. Now, where do you want to start? You want to talk a little bit about your background before we move into the product itself, or whatever?
Sure.
Um, how did
Yeah,
you come into it? I mean, that's all got to play into this.
absolutely. Well, to start off, I've been in the health and wellness industry for a very long time. I studied under Master Herbalist Ron Teagarden to learn about Chinese herbs. And through my work with traditional Chinese medicine, I started to really dive deeply into Ayurvedic medicine and just found so much wisdom and so much insight in those traditional medical systems that were really
Yes.
beneficial for me. I was born with severe club feet and had a lot of surgeries growing up. So, with the surgeries, I was also medically addicted to opiates by the time I was like 14 years old.
Oh,
So that became like a full blown addiction in my teenage years, and by the time I was 20, about 21, I made the decision that I wanted something better for myself, and I first started like working with superfoods at a vegan restaurant that I was cooking at. I did like a raw food diet. I got really into breathing and like the pranayama practices and things like that,
mhm.
and that helped me, just take the next step on my journey and transformation. So, um, I hip hop music has always been something that I'm really passionate about and a big influence for me, especially when I was growing up and wasn't able to play sports or do a lot of the other things that my peers and my friends were doing. I'd dive into music and I'd dive into writing and writing poetry. In the last several years, I found a way to really bridge that and bring my passion for hip hop and my passion for herbalism together. So I go by Ben Steezy, the hip hop herbalist. And my mission is to elevate global consciousness using the mediums of hip hop and using the wisdom of traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine to help people empower themselves to honor our bodies through plant medicines, through natural superfoods from the earth that have been used with great benefit for thousands of years. So,
Yeah.
um,
Mother Earth has provided us with everything that we need to take care of ourselves, and it's only when we alter it in ways as is done by big pharma that it doesn't work as well and causes side effects. Um,
Absolutely.
that's a wonderful thing. I notice you have on your shirts adaptogens are the new lean. Okay, I, I love aptem.
Adaptogens, yeah.
Sometimes it gets my tongue twisted, but I definitely think they're a great thing from herbal medicine that everyone can benefit from, especially with all the stress that's going on these days.
Absolutely. Anything that can help us to become more resilient and strengthen our immune system, strengthen our resiliency to any of these outside, you know, toxins that are all around us. That's definitely a huge benefit. So that's really what inspired me to start Legit Gold. Legit Gold is a Shilajit company. So I work with this Shilajit resin that Sherpas in the Himalayas actually harvest by hand at about 18,000 feet up in the mountains. And what this is, I like to call it ancient sunlight because it is the result of the most resilient plants and the most resilient herbs that grow in above the tree line in the Himalayas. This is what happens after they decompose and return to the earth, becomes this beautiful black resin. Now, the Sherpas that I work with, they are based in Nepal and they travel out to the Western Himalayas where the best gold grade Shilajit is found. They go up to between 16 to 18,000 feet, and they collect this in its unpurified state. So it's a little bit more solid, has some insolubles in it that you would want to get out because we don't want to be consuming heavy metals or any of the other natural occurring elements in the earth in that form. So what the Sherpas do is they actually follow the Vedic processes of purifying the Shilajit, this resin right here, with spring water and other Ayurvedic herbs until it becomes completely water soluble. You're going to see, I'm going to put it in my tea right now, and it'll dissolve completely in my tea. And what I'm doing is supercharging my tea with over 50,000 unique biological compounds that all benefit the human body. So we're talking about over 85 trace ionic minerals, amino acids, phytonutrients, phospholipids, all types of different beneficial compounds. And the fulvic and the humic acid, which is the primary components of the Shilajit, they're going to help to deliver nutrients at a cellular level because all of these nutrients, they dissolve in water. They're sub nanoparticles. So they're smaller than just about anything else that we can put our microscopes on. And you'll see that resin has dissolved in my tea. And now with all of those nutrients, it's one of the most powerful adaptogens that I can imagine because I'm going to, first of all, feel the lift of any brain fog and the mental clarity that comes with it. And after taking Shilajit for several days or several weeks in a row, you're going to start to build stamina and endurance and strength. And it's actually an incredible supplement for men and women to stay healthy, strong, and balanced because that's what adaptogens do. They work systemically to balance hormones, balance the physiological processes of the body, and make sure
Yes.
that our vessels can carry light the right way because that's what we are. You know, we're light beings in a meat suit, and if you keep your meat suit healthy, then the light will shine through.
That's funny. I haven't heard anyone say that for a while, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And the better we take care of our meat suit, the better we're going to be able to function in all different ways, from spiritually, bodily, mentally, and otherwise. And one of the things that you mentioned about this as well is mental clarity. Now we all want that, don't we? Especially when we're being bombarded from so much information that's designed just to confuse us even more. First you hear it's one way, then you hear it's something else, and then you hear, it's like, oh my God. So they're putting out all kinds of information, disinformation, misinformation, you name it. And a little mental clarity would be really helpful nowadays to be able to decide what's worth listening to and what's not. So that's kind of fascinating. It's my understanding that the humic acts more like a chelator for the larger heavy metals, so it helps you detox a little bit as well. Is
Yeah,
that
absolutely. So Shilajit has both fulvic and humic acid in it, and as you just mentioned, humic acid is a natural chelator, and along with some of the other components that are in the Shilajit, you're going to see that your body responds in a really magnificent way when you're taking it on a regular basis because now you're decalcifying things like the pineal gland, the organs, any unhealthy calcium deposits, unhealthy iron in the body. It'll also help to regulate iron levels in the right way to where you're getting actually the trace ionic iron inside of the Shilajit that your cells can use and that's actually beneficial while we're taking out the larger molecules with the humic acid and dispensing of that in the right way so that you are no longer affected in a negative way from that excess iron. And then, of course, mercury and other heavy metals, it's very good at attaching to and helping to detox out of the tissues of the body and out of the blood so that we're, able to process those things and not hold on to them where a lot of bad things can occur if those things stay in the body too long, or get too
and
excess.
then you have the benefit of the fulvic, which carries it into the good stuff into the cells, correct?
Right. So it's
Is that
really
right?
interesting because the fulvic acid is the sub nanoparticle, right? It's the one that's smaller than humic acid. So what
Mm.
it's doing is it's actually crossing, it bypasses the digestive process. It goes right through the blood-brain barrier and it affects the mitochondria of the cell. So you're feeding the mitochondria, and the really fascinating effect that you'll see is one of the reasons that in Ayurvedic medicine, Shilajit's used for treatment for diabetes is because the components of the Shilajit and the fulvic acid will actually attach and bind to fats and sugars, and it'll convert the fats and sugars into ATP, which is cellular energy. ATP is essential for every physiological process in the body. So everything that we do to build and produce the right hormones, everything that we do to balance our endocrine system and our digestive processes, our neurological function, it's affected by ATP. So
Well,
when we
yeah,
can
our
convert,
the mitochondria are known as the powerhouse of the cell. So if you're feeding and helping that, you're really doing a lot. And, we have a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction nowadays. And
yeah,
who knows what that's all from, besides the heavy metals we're exposed to, all the MF we're exposed to. And having something that we can give to our body that's going to help it deal with all of the toxins and frequencies and all the stuff we're exposed to. I mean, we as humans are very resilient if you think about it, but yet we do succumb at a much younger age than we probably should because of
yeah.
it.
Well, and one of the interesting things that I like to point out is that when you look at modern agriculture, we don't let things decompose and die and return to the earth anymore. So we don't have the fulvic acid and the humic component of the soil that we used to. Our food, organic food especially, should be high in these nutrients, because fulvic acid can be found, humic acid can be found in every patch of soil on earth, in every ocean, every freshwater body of water, anywhere where biological matter exists, anywhere that life exists, and it
Mhm.
dies and it decomposes and it returns to the earth, it's going to eventually become humus. And humus acid is made up of these humic compounds, particularly fulvic and humic. So these are nutrients that are essential for life. They're a part of life. They're a part of the process of life giving back to life once life becomes death. So we are missing out on these nutrients in our soil that are essential for all of our physiological processes. Shilajit just happens to be the most medicinal and resilient plants that exist already. Things like cordyceps mushrooms, Tibetan rhodiola, things like jatamansi. Those are what are native to the Himalayas, and especially at the altitude that the Shilajit is actually being harvested. So you have to think these very potent adaptogens, these very potent plant substances are decomposing, returning to the earth, going seeping into the mountain, and then during the summer it oozes back up out of the mountain as this ancient carrier of sunlight, this ancient superfood that gives us all those nutrients that are gone and depleted from our soil, but also has some amazing benefits for rejuvenation. And it's called Indian Viagra because of its fertility benefits. You'll notice that it increases blood flow and the way that the body moves in a big way, and it's used as an aphrodisiac for that reason. As a lot of us know, those vital energies, our sexual energy is very sacred, and good sign of vitality, a good sign of health is to be healthy, with your sexual functions as well. So
Mhm.
Shilajit helps with all that, and it's a very powerful and potent way to just supercharge your life and to also enhance the benefits that you get from other herbs.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's what many people could benefit from. So basically, it's rejuvenating. Now, there was another area that I noticed that it's been had some studies done, and that is with Alzheimer's
Yeah.
and helping with improving cognition levels. And I'm sure part of it is the chelation of the heavy metals that have accumulated in the brain, because that's already been
Mhm.
demonstrated, right? So
Right.
apparently, if you take this long enough, you would probably be able to detox quite well in that area. It's hard to get stuff out of the brain.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of Shilajit being a sub, its components that are really going to work are such small molecules that they're able to get into the tissues of the body. So over time, like you were saying, they'll actually work into the tissues. And if there's any type of, foreign substances, especially heavy metals, it's going to attach and help the body to naturally detox that. So, um, one of the studies that we were looking at, now we're able to do a lot more clinical trials with things like cannabis because of its legal status. And they did a 60-day study where daily cannabis users ingested 250 milligrams of Shilajit, which is about as much as you just saw me take on that stick. They did that daily, 30 minutes prior to the first time that they consumed cannabis. And on average, they were able to cut their cannabis use in half. And that's because the phospholipids and other substances inside of the Shilajit actually, they actually attach to cannabinoids and make them water soluble and more absorbable in our body. So you'll get more benefit from CBD oil. It works for non-psychoactive, like hemp CBD derived oils as well. You can actually take Shilajit prior to consuming CBD and get more benefit from it. Or if you're, using cannabis recreationally, even it'll enhance the effects of THC. It'll enhance the effects of all the different cannabinoids.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, talk about synergistic work. I think I work with a hemp paste because they use the whole plant.
Yeah,
I don't, from what I've learned, there are losses that occur as a result of the extraction process when you make an oil. And the whole plant, that's why I have hemp paste gailofgaia.com as well. But that's fascinating to know that the two of those would work synergistically. I didn't
yeah.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
In Ayurvedic medicine, Shilajit was often paired with ashwagandha because it enhances the properties of other botanicals. So when you take ashwagandha with Shilajit, you're actually getting about 10 times the benefit for your adrenals and for some of the other different, effects that you want to seek from ashwagandha. So really it works like that with most botanicals. We've seen the same effects with functional mushrooms and other fungi and herbs. So I
Mhm.
I highly recommend for the person who is already taking a lot of natural products and you know investing in their health and investing in herbs and botanicals. Shilajit will help you to maximize that benefit, and you can take less of the herbs that you're taking and get more benefit from them.
That's fascinating. It makes it sound like it would be a foundational product.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
think it
mean?
is. I'm surprised more people haven't heard of it, and I think that's by design. Oftentimes when things are
Yeah.
too good, too powerful, they get suppressed for whatever reasons, and we won't go too
I
far into
wasn't
those
familiar
reasons,
with
but
it. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with it. And that, I dove into a lot of nutritional and herbal areas because I have background in it as well. So it's one I hadn't run across. So that's fascinating. And when I think about the nature of the way that it is formed, um, it's just wonderful. And I like it. It kind of fits into the circle of life thing.
totally, yeah. I just feel that when we let things go through their natural process, it's like allowing the full cycle of the soul, so you get to see it in all of its light and all of its beauty. And these adaptogens, these plants that are decomposing, I mean, they're amazing if you harvest them fresh. We're talking things like cordyceps and rhodiola. These are things I take with Shilajit, and they're potent adaptogens. Rhodiola survives higher up in the Himalayas than most people can, except for the
Oh, I didn't
Sherpas.
realize. Yeah, I didn't realize it was from up there. I have used rhodiola before, and I
Yeah.
like cordyceps, and that it really enhances oxygen absorption as well. And so, uh,
And all of
that's
these things are good for altitude sickness or,
uh,
adjusting and adapting to high altitudes, which makes sense because they grow in that region. And when you look at the Sherpas and their culture, they use these herbs and they use things like Shilajit as just part of their daily lives. It's not something that they think of as anything more than me and you think of like coffee or tea. They take their Shilajit and they're able to thrive, not only survive but thrive, climbing up high up into the peaks of the Himalayas, and they're the only ones in the world that can do it without oxygen. When somebody doesn't make it home from Everest, they're the ones that go and retrieve them. They're the one that they're the ones that go up there and take
They can
people back
handle
down.
their
Yeah,
bodies have adapted, have acclimated to the high altitudes, and unless you're living, you're not going to adapt.
yeah,
So you have to be living there in order to adapt to it. And then I think over generations, I'm sure there's been DNA changes as a result to make that adaptation happen. And because I read, they fascinated me when I found out where this was all from. So I found out that they have 30% more power than the lowlanders, so to speak, and more capillaries per square centimeter of muscle, bigger chest and lung capacity. So I think the 30% more, a better form of oxygen utilization or something like that, because that's
yeah.
why they can survive up there. It's amazing.
Absolutely. It is amazing. And, I've been fascinated by the culture, and I've been fascinated by the traditional use of these plants for a long time. So being able to work directly with the Sherpas that go and harvest the Gold Grade Shilajit that they take themselves, and being able to share it with all the people here that I share it with, and it benefit them, it benefit us, it benefit the end consumer. I mean, it really is just an amazing thing to be called to. I can't take any credit for creating Shilajit. It's a product of the earth, but
Mhm.
I'm very, very humbled and grateful to be able to bring the message to everybody and be able to tell the story of it. So, I see that as kind of my role in this thing.
And I'm glad I found you.
I'm glad you found me too, Gail. Yeah, this is, I'm sure the first of many great conversations that we'll have.
I think so. I think so, because we could have something on herbs and so on. So that may be a future show. But at this point, I want to stick with the foundational nature of this product. Now, what were some did I see something on diabetes too,
Yeah,
or
so in
not?
Ayurvedic medicine, Shilajit's used for all types of different major issues, but diabetes is one of the main things that we have a lot of studies on, and we have a lot of clinical studies now on how Shilajit affects people with diabetes and how it affects the levels of sugar in the blood and insulin levels as well, and our insulin response. So one of the major reasons that Shilajit's so good for, well, just about everybody, but especially people that have a problem with their blood sugar, is that the Shilajit actually attaches to sugars and fats, and it helps to convert those sugars and fats into ATP. So you're no longer you no longer have these these chemicals, these different nutrients going through your blood that aren't being used by the body correctly. They're not being absorbed correctly and being used as energy. The Shilajit helps to actually absorb them on a cellular level and convert them into the right types of energy. So that has some amazing benefits for people that have high blood sugar or are diabetic. And, of course, I'm not a
We have to be
doctor and all
careful.
that
We're not
stuff with,
making,
yeah, go and, but
yeah.
most doctors, if they look into Shilajit and they see the clinical studies on it, that's the thing, is that a lot of them haven't heard of it. But if they look into it and even give it, a little bit of thought and effort, then they're going to recommend it 99% of the time. And I've seen it with many MDs and many physicians that say that this is a great thing to take, and there's a ton of upside and little to no downside. One of the things people want to be careful of is getting their Shilajit from a quality source, because there are a lot of imitator products on the market. That's where it can be dangerous. That's where you could get something that's either fake Shilajit, or even worse, has heavy metals in it, wasn't purified properly, and is dangerous for the body. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the company you buy Shilajit from lab tests all their products, because once Shilajit is harvested by the Sherpas and purified properly, if it's sent over here, it has to be packaged in a GMP facility to be following all the rules and regulations the right way. So make sure that your company that you get Shilajit from does have a GMP facility they package in, and they lab test everything to make sure it's free of any contaminants, heavy metals, things like that. Um,
That's important.
starting
I
Yeah.
noticed that your company provides the lab reports, and that's important for people to see and to know that they, it's checked. It's not just, saying that it's something that it's not. You have the evidence to prove it, and that's always important.
Yeah, I stand by the basis, of when I started this company, when I started Legit, I really was very certain that the what would make us different is that we put so much care into the quality and the actual journey of this medicine and its history, its traditional use, the people that are harvesting it, the people that are stewards of the land. That's all a big part of our journey. And transparency and giving people something that's a top quality product is really important to me. I used this Shilajit for years myself before I ever brought it to the public, and it's something that I've given to my parents, I've given to my wife, I've given to my children, I've given to my friends. I wouldn't be sharing this with the people that I'm closest to and that I love the most if I didn't think that it was, the most powerful substance that I can get my hands on and had a tremendous amount of benefit. So I just make I make sure that I state, that the integrity of other companies isn't always up to that par. So just be careful and watch out when you do purchase any type of herb or supplement online. And just look for lab tests. I mean, it's really easy if a company's publishing lab tests from a third party accredited lab in the United States, and you can see that it's free of heavy metals and free of, any type of contaminants or pathogens or additives, then chances are you're good to go, and they're probably a pretty stand up company. There's plenty of them out there, but one bad apple can screw up the whole bunch, they say. So just be careful.
Definitely, and then it can give a good product a bad reputation. Um, and you definitely, I've always told people too, with supplements, you don't want to go and buy them at Walmart, for example. I'm not trying to knock them, but and the other thing I need to say is we're not giving medical advice. And for anything that you need to do, check with your doctor, and that's for the sake of the, who. And that's my medical disclaimer. Because you can hardly say anything nowadays without them, complaining one way or another, or it's called medical misinformation. But that's usually about that other thing that's going on that we don't want to talk about right now. But anyway, uh, let's see. I just found out recently because my friend and colleague Paul showed up and said that the show wasn't showing up on YouTube and Facebook, which it should have been, so I had to go and check and found out that it was off. So from the previous show, and I didn't realize it. So now I turned them all on, so people are going to be seeing us in the middle of the show, and that's okay. We will upload the full version later afterwards. It just might take a little more time that way. I didn't mean for that to happen, but unfortunately it did. Many interruptions sometimes. So let's see. Sorry about that interruption. Where did we leave off there? So you have a background in herbs, right?
Yeah. So I studied under Ron Teagarden, who's the founder of Dragon Herbs. He's a master herbalist for traditional Chinese medicine.
Oh,
And I worked with him in LA for a little bit. I worked on several projects with him and his team. And at the time, I was actually working really closely with the tribes in Ecuador that would harvest heirloom cacao, Criollo, Ariba Nacional cacao from the rainforest down there. And we did a project with Ron Teagarden where we infused his herbs into our cacao and made this amazing tonic herb chocolate. So he actually still produces some of those products, but that was a formula and a recipe that I helped out with. And I'm really grateful for everything that he's done to just put me on my path towards herbalism. And reading his books and learning directly from him about Chinese medicine has been a huge impact on me in my life. That's also kind of how I got into Shilajit. originally. And once I learned more about Shilajit, I dived into Ayurvedic medicine and have been, really deeply studying Ayurvedic medicine for the last couple of years now.
Yeah, it is very interesting type of medicine, I think, and it's very ancient, just Chinese medicine, and it makes it very complementary at the very least to say, to Western medicine, which has a lot of problems as far as I'm concerned, but we won't go there. Um, uh, but Ayurvedic medicine is fascinating, and so is herbology. I don't know how much background you have in that herbs, but what you said, that's a lot. I mean, that's the master herbalist in Chinese medicine. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, and finding a way to really bridge my passions, I think, has helped me to stay focused and be consistent in my mission and what I really am out here to accomplish. Because, hip hop music and the stuff that I do artistically, it's really a driving desire that I have to impact culture and to help educate people about my lifestyle and to kind of put, the flavor of what I'm doing out there into this whole sphere of entertainment. And when I finally realized that I can be an herbalist and be a hip hop star and be a family man, and I could be consistently the same person in all of those different roles that I was playing, all those different roles that I wanted to play.
mhm.
That's when I really started to see the shift and the success that I knew was always there, and I knew that it was always possible. I'm just now really starting to find my stride though, and find a way that I can actually honor my body, discipline my mind, nurture my emotions, serve my society. These are all values of mine. These are all things that I believe are very important. And there's no reason that I can't be that as a hip hop artist. There's no reason that I can't be that as an herbalist. There's no reason that I can't be that as a family man. And in fact, that's what I'm here to do. That's what I should be. So, when we take tonic herbs, when we are, I look at tonic herbs like I do my morning yoga practice, when I do burpees, when I meditate, when I go do a cold plunge or jump in a cryotherapy chamber. I am using a tool that I have access to that is going to help to optimize my mind, help to optimize my body, and help me respond better to whatever comes up in my life. Because we all have thoughts, we all have emotions, but we're not our thoughts and emotions, right? How we
Right.
respond, how we respond to those things
Yes.
often determines the quality of our day. How we respond to our thoughts and emotions as they come up. And
Plus, it's like grabbing hold of them and keeping them in check.
yeah, absolutely. And, with a clear mind, with that mental clarity, you're going
Yes.
to be able to make much better decisions in those moments. And we are able to be response able. We're response able humans when we're giving ourselves the right nutrients. So
That's so
that's
important.
it's my mission. That's in a nutshell. That's my mission. I want to help. I think Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently passed away, he's one of the people that I really looked up to and admired. Thich Nhat Hanh, I believe he said, in order to heal the environment, we must first heal the environmentalist, and that has been a basis of my health and wellness journey for years and years and years. I do believe that in order to serve the world, we need to first make sure that we're living at our highest self. We have to be fully optimized to serve the most people. So if I can help others optimize their life, optimize their body, optimize their mind, nurture their emotions, expand their prosperity, shine their soul, if I can help people do those things, then I'm doing my job. That's what I'm here to do. And
That's
that's
beautiful,
this is
Benjamin.
just
That's
one.
beautiful. It
Thank you,
really is.
Gail. And I see, I see that you're a woman on a mission that is very much the same, activating people, getting information out there, giving people the awareness that they need to make these response able decisions. So I
Because
appreciate your work, and I appreciate being here.
thank you, thank you. Um, it just reminds it's the change that we need to make starts right here, you know, and working on ourselves, getting ourselves to our optimal level is so important, and it's not easy these days. It really isn't. So having some tools or having some uh, remedies or health tools that can help enhance things in a foundational product like this sounds like it is. I just started using it, and I have to say I did notice it when I first took it, um, and now I'm starting to. But I've been a little inconsistent, and so now I'm being a little more consistent, and it's all good. So I hope everyone enjoys this. So why don't we, because some of the people missed some of this, why don't we go just a real quick review um, over about um, the product itself, the
Yeah.
Sherpas, and that is a rejuvenating um, type of tonic. If you don't mind, I
No,
think
of
that would be
course. Yeah, so I have a jar of the resin right here. We also make this in a liquid form, but it's Gold Grade Shilajit resin that's harvested by hand by the
I,
Sherpas in Nepal. Oh, she's got the liquid. Look at
yeah, I
Gail
got
on
a
top of
little
things.
bit.
So this is an ancient mineral resin that is the result of the most resilient plants and botanicals that grow above the tree line in the Himalayas. They decompose, return to the earth, and then bubble back out of the earth during the summer months after hundreds or even thousands of years. So the result that you get after the Sherpas go up and collect and then purify this is this beautiful black resin that's completely water soluble. Now, this resin, you can't smoke it, so don't try to do that because it won't light on fire.
Okay.
But it will dissolve into water. It dissolves into coffee, tea, any warm beverage really easily,
Uh-huh.
and you can even just put it right under your tongue if you want to, if you're brave enough. But it has a really earthy, very complex flavor profile, so it plays really well with chocolate, plays really well with coffee, it plays really well with herbal teas and other earthy flavors.
Right.
But the reason that you want to add this to your beverage every morning is because it is packed with 50,000 unique biological compounds that all benefit the human body. You have over 85 trace ionic minerals, you have amino acids, natural steroids, phospholipids, phytonutrients, all types of different base nutrients that we need to function. And aside from all those great nutrients, Shilajit has been proven to convert sugar and fat in the blood into ATP, into cellular energy. It's been proven to increase testosterone in men, balance hormones in women. It's used as a beauty tonic, used as a fertility tonic. They would give Shilajit to people that had fertility issues in Ayurveda culture, and they would see that this was what they would call the gift of birth and the food of the gods. So tons of great benefits. The company that I founded back in September after working with this Shilajit and working with the Sherpas for with the Sherpas for a few years now and with Shilajit for over a decade. I started Lajit, Lajit Gold. So Legit Gold, I think Gail's going to link some of the links in her description, but you can go check out more about our Shilajit, about the Sherpas that harvest the Shilajit, and you can find more about me and my music if you go check out Ben Steezy anywhere. So,
Yeah, I'll add that in the link in the description. And what I have up on the screen is blackgold.gailofgaia.com, and that goes directly to your website, your legit website.
perfect. Yeah. So if you just go over to that blackgold.gailofgaia.com, you can look at all of the research papers that we have on Shilajit, some of the other herbs that we carry that go really well with Shilajit. We now have a
Sandra.
yeah,
Yeah.
Shazandra berry, which is amazing. We can talk about that if you want to, but I don't know if you got to try these yet, Gail. They're even newer. We got wild jungle honey from Nepal,
I saw
and we're making
that thing.
Shilajit infused wild jungle honey sticks. So the Greek
Yes,
philosopher Aristotle, you familiar with Aristotle?
of course.
He
Yes.
actually recommended Shilajit, and he
I,
recommended to consume Aristotle recommended to consume Shilajit with honey, all the way back in ancient Greece. So they were
yes.
very hip to that. They would consume Shilajit infused into honey before entering the Colosseum, gladiators, when they were going into battle. Napoleon actually used to give his men Shilajit as well before battle, so they would increase their strength and their stamina and their mental acuity. So lots of different figures throughout history have used Shilajit with great success and great benefit. Um, William Shakespeare wrote about it in some of his plays. So it's a
Oh,
really
really?
fascinating tonic. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff out there, and you can find out plenty of this info at our website. We have some of these stories in the About Me section, and
You have testimonials too, I've seen. Yeah.
yeah, for the Shilajit, especially, like I said, we launched back in September, so we're a very new company. But for people that are familiar with Shilajit and have already experienced some of the benefits of it, they try ours and they're blown away by the quality. So I really, if you're just hearing about this for the first time, I feel like you're being given an amazing opportunity to try some of the highest quality, most beneficial and sustainably sourced Shilajit that's out there. The Sherpas that go up there, they climb up to the 16 to 18,000 feet point of the mountain, and they harvest the Shilajit by hand. They bring it down back into Nepal, and they take it through a 6 rounds of spring water. They use ice melt from the Himalayas and fresh spring water to clean and purify the Shilajit along with other Ayurvedic herbs. So then you're just left with this amazing resin as the end result. And when you mix it into any beverage, any warm beverage, it just dissolves and completely becomes one with that beverage. So you can just drink it right there on the spot. It's really good.
Fascinating. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. And I'd like to bring you back on, Ben, if you'd like.
I'd love that, Gail. Yeah, this was a pretty impromptu little discussion, and I'm super grateful that we got to have it. So, I'd love to find out what the audience thought and what they'd like to know about, and come back a little bit more prepared to talk about some, go in depth with these herbs and a little bit more of my story if you want to.
Yes, I would like to get more information for people out there about herbs. And I wasn't thinking you were an herbalist. And so we can take advantage of your knowledge there and we can get it out there if, if that works for you. And so I'll be in touch and I'll let you know. And I'll send you links when this is completed. And I will have to fix the YouTube link because I didn't have it turned on right away. So I'm going to have to fix that. But anyway, thank you so much for spending time with me today and explaining this wonderful product to people. And I really hope they try it. So far, I like it. I haven't been using it very long, but so far so good. And I feel great. And thank you, Ben. We'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
awesome.
So
Thanks a lot, Gail. Appreciate
bye,
you.
everybody. Thank you for listening. And we will talk again soon. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Love you all.